Hey, hey, hey. I know normally things are a little different, but tonight it's just a little bit of a different kind of thing. First of all, welcome Stacy, my co-host
Hello.
for tonight. We are missing Amber. She is not feeling good. I have spoken to her a couple of times today, and she is not well. So we have Stacy on here tonight to co-host with me, and we are super excited that you're here.
I'm very
And
happy to be
then,
here.
um, Bill, we're just going to leave you up here because you're involved in everything that we're talking about except for a couple of things. So
Sweet.
I just want to know all the stuff. Um, and then, of course, we have a ton of questions. Stacy, if you want to take a minute and tell us who is in the chat to start off with, we can say hey to everybody.
Yep. All right. We got Dave Orkin, Rob Zamora, William Golden, Michael Morales, Kevin McCoy, Legends Collector 1321, Jeff Evans, Darla Ackerman, One Six Shooter, Trevor, Mirko Caldera. I don't. Hopefully, I didn't mess up your name too much. Mark R. Michael Casper, the Collecting Brothers, and Andy the Collector.
Hi, 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 everybody. I
Oh,
did see
and my
here
husband.
that, Brian, it's about time.
Right.
You're late.
Where have you been?
The Collecting Brothers, first time watcher, long time fan of Bill. Hello, everyone. Bill, do you know who that is?
Yeah, I recognize the Collecting Brothers. Yep. What's up, guys?
Oh, okay. Awesome. Um, that is nice. Thank you for joining in. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please go and subscribe. We are working hard to get to our 500 subscribers. I think when I jumped on, we are at 368. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. A couple of things to start with. Super excited. Just came in the mail and wanted to show you guys. Kevin took it out and took pictures and then put it back in the box. So I haven't even had a chance to look at it real good. But I finally got my custom figure from Scott Warren. Scott, she is beautiful. I cannot wait to take her out and hopefully post some pictures on the Cabal. She is wonderful. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. I am super excited. And Kevin has taken some pictures, so hopefully we'll be posting some of those tonight. Okay, so we have some amazing things going on coming up this weekend. And Bill, tell us what you think. So let's go from front to back. Ashes of Agbendor.
Mm-hmm.
Next Friday night. What are we thinking? Like, what is? I know that on your channel you posted something about what is everybody thinking. What
Yeah.
are they saying? What are they coming up with?
Well, a lot of people are thinking that the way they kind of worded things, that like who will survive kind of wording, like that stuff that they think that it's going to be sort of a 2.0 wave. Like we're going to see. So this is roughly in the place where an All Stars would have been, right? So it's sort of like maybe instead of an All Stars, they did a full wave of version twos, not 2.0s, but version twos of figures. So like a lot of people are like, oh, this is the perfect chance to do Otho 2.0, right? Or,
Right. Yeah.
like any of the great characters that weren't making it into the All Stars votes the last few years, potentially because they're going to be version twos. Like it could be a wave of those. I think because we're getting a big, every G-Con is a big Legions. Like that's the big Legions wave of the year. This
Right.
isn't going to be a 10 I don't think it's going to be like a 10 plus figure wave. I think it'll be like 6 figures, maybe like 4 deluxe figures or 6 figures or something along those lines.
Okay.
I was I was really shocked at some of the revelations in the story here that are just like dropped on us. Like, I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of Zendi and like just like the school nature of Basilia, right? Like they have a
Mhm.
library, they have wizards,
Right.
they have schools. It's like it's that kind of stuff. As a teacher, that stuff has been, really interesting to me. So to know that the library has been destroyed, it sounds like, and Samir is picking up the ashes and kind of like sifting through the wreckage of this destruction. That's pretty devastating. Even though you have the good news of it sounds like the Great Four have been defeated again, but you have this like serious catastrophic um, aftermath of it, which potentially opens the door for like uh, like outsiders to come in and maybe make a push for power in some way. Like maybe we could get, we've heard Zendi is from across the sea or whatever. I think Rhaegor is from other lands. Like there are people from outside of Mythos, so I think it could be, we could get something like that, like a new faction or like a new threat, something like that. Um, but it's interesting to ponder.
It is, and it has been really fun. So, Legion's cast is on at 5 o'clock right before we come on. So Kevin and I try to catch that, and they were talking about Zalona's flock tonight, which I am a
Yep.
huge proponent of Zalona's flock. And as they were showing Zalona's flock, and I was looking at the characters in Zalona's flock all together, I realized, oh, I'm only missing 3. Yeah, and
Which
one of
three?
them, so I'm missing Asterion,
Mm-hmm.
which I really, really want. And so and that's where this was going. My hope and prayer for version 2 of Asterion is to make him brute scale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just a bigger Asterion, because he is her protector. I mean, that's his thing. I don't have Orn Steelhide,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have the Silver Dwarf.
Okay.
But those are the only 3 characters out of Xylona's flock since we've started, since I've been a part of the community that I've missed. I don't have yet. So,
It's interesting to think of. So if they did Asterion as a brute scale, we would now have a 1.0 or multiple 1.0 minotaurs. Then you would have a brute scale minotaur, and then you would have an ogre scale minotaur as well.
so the new one that they're putting out, he's ogre scale. I thought he was brute.
He's ogre scale, yeah.
Is
The one in
okay.
the Rising Suns wave, yeah, he's ogre
Yeah.
scale.
So maybe they'll do him as an ogre scale to match
Could
that
be,
one,
yeah.
because that would be awesome. Either way, I mean, I was just thinking bigger. I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
have him a little bit bigger because of who he is and his part of the story. He protects Artemis, and that's his thing, is he is her protector. And so I think a brute scale or even an ogre scale of him would be awesome.
I think of those 3. I think Asterion is probably the most likely for a version 2 out of those 3. Would be my guess.
Yeah, and something that you said a long time ago, the very first probably the first Legion's Con we went to, you and I met and talked, and you
Mm-hmm.
told me at that time, you said, don't look back, look
Yeah.
forward. And we have lucked up and gotten some of the older characters, but for the most part, I can't spend that kind of money on an
Yeah.
Asterion, or I can't spend the kind of money for an Orange Steelhide. I just don't have it. So I have very much been looking forward. And then when they released the Silverhorn Sentry, I was, yay!
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So looking forward proved to be fruitful, and I still got one of the ones that I needed really badly. So.
Nice.
But I will always remember that. But I'm super excited about this. Now, I know that a lot of people have said, and I think it's even here, that possibly get a dragon. What are your thoughts on that?
So watching Jeremy's show last night and just hearing Eric just conversationally kind of mention like this, like his excitement level or what, just like the way he just kind of addressed this wave. Like he was like, yeah, I can't wait for people to see what's in this upcoming wave and the things we have. And it's just like, I feel like a dragon wouldn't be just one of numerous things in a wave. I feel like it would be its own thing, perhaps. I don't know. Like I just don't see this being the dragon. I know some people are looking at that image and they're seeing a burning place, right? Burning
Right.
Ophidian or whatever. I don't know. I don't see this one being the dragon.
Well, do you see the Collecting Brothers here commented? He said that someone took Agbender as an anagram and got B Dragon out of it.
Oh, nice. That's some, and like the people who are saying that Ophidian has serpent, like root words. It's like Ophidian phobia is like a fear of snakes or something. Like that's very forward thinking because Ophidian and Agbendor have been. I mean, I guess Agbendor is somewhat new of a word, but it's been around for a couple of years, right? Because it was in the bios of the Poxus Wave figures that were revealed multiple years ago. But yeah, that would be some forward. That would be some like forward-looking teases that they're planting seeds for 2 years ago or 10 years ago. But
you never know. Somebody also said in the chat, Jeff Evans said, Fire Troll would be cool.
That is something that I could see. I feel like they said they weren't going to go back to trolls anytime soon, but yeah, I mean, I could totally see that Fire Troll.
Yeah. So, all right, that was first thing. Next Friday, May 31st, 7 p.m. And I don't know about everybody else, but I will be watching and seeing what's new, and I'm super excited.
And
Bill, thank you for your. Yeah, go ahead.
For people who are like, oh man, we just had this Figura drop, and I just dropped $150 on this Figura drop, and now we got this thing next week. It's like, just remember that this is one of those waves where they're going to have a month-long pre-order window. You're not going to have to buy it Friday. You can plan it out, but don't wait till the very end, because then there's just going to be the next thing that'll be around the corner, right? But,
right.
maybe middle of June, try to get your order in or something.
Yeah.
Give yourself a couple weeks.
Give you a couple weeks to get some money together to do it. I told Kevin, I said, so now that I've started doing some customs, I said, I don't know if I want to sell all of the extras that we've got or not, because I might want to use them for customs. And I thought, well, we might have to sell them in order to pay for the new stuff coming out.
Well, it's funny because, if you kind of have a little cachet of like older stuff. Okay, so like I got a couple things there a couple years ago that I maybe was going to use for swaps and customs. And if those have gone up a little bit in value, like why not sell some of those and then use it to fund getting extras of the next wave, because you're going to get kind of like more bang for your buck on that,
Yeah.
That's kind of how I roll with stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, this next topic, I am so excited. Like, I am so excited. Let's pull this one up. I am so excited. So, Annabis and Bastet, you had the honor, privilege, loved your videos, of being able to show these to everybody within minutes of them going online and being available. What do you think of these?
They're amazing. I'm trying to still like acknowledge how awesome the Monkey King was, and it was my favorite up till this. Like and I'm trying to just be like, okay, these are new. I don't want to overreact with how much I think these are awesome, but they're definitely. I think up there in the talk with Monkey King. I think a lot of people are gonna like these even more than Monkey King, as awesome as Monkey King was. It's just one of those. It's also two figures. It's hard to compete with two. But if you just took like one of them, like just take Bastet on its own, could rival Monkey King, or Anubis on his own could rival Monkey King. Like they are fantastic figures. It's like top to bottom, everything is brand new. Bastet feels a little like a lot of the parts feel very similar in look and stuff, but I guess everything's brand new top to bottom. And it's they just loaded with accessories. It's another diorama heaven with just replica items of museum pieces and archaeological finds and stuff. And we're getting ancient mythology for the first time, really. Like between like Greek, Norse, the various mythologies. We're getting the Egyptian mythology, which is very cool. I knew it would come someday. I wasn't sure which one would come first, but very cool that it's Egyptian. So
Yeah,
awesome set.
this is awesome. And of course, when I saw it, I was overjoyed and thrilled with the prospect of getting new characters and super excited. But when you did your show of all the new parts and pieces, like I knew immediately, I want to use some of those parts and pieces. Like I've already got ideas. I want to use those. And so I was able to go on to the Figure Obscura Cabal and say, hey, does anybody want Anubis so I can get more of the Bastets, because I've already got customs planned. And luckily I was able to sell them really quickly, and I didn't go crazy in my asking price, but it was very, very amazing to be able to get her to have all of the new pieces and to be able to have her. And I'm especially excited about the first female. And Kevin and I actually just got the box when we got home from work.
Oh, just today? Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I haven't opened them at all.
End the show. Open them up. Priorities.
Not without Kevin. I would not do that to him. But he but yeah, to have gotten the boxes that we got whenever we walked in, knowing that I'm doing the show and we can't sit downstairs and open everything, it was just kind of like but yeah, so my boxes are here. I'm super excited. But the second order, like I haven't even gotten the shipping confirmation for the second order,
right.
The 3 extras, but I am so excited. I am so excited. She is beautiful.
Either of you dipping back in tomorrow morning?
I don't know. I've been debating. The more that I see the Anubis, and I did not get an extra of him. And the more I watch your show and the more I see all the possibilities, I'm like, do you think maybe I should get an extra one of him to use?
Yeah, I'm fighting the urge, but I'm just reminding myself that they're eventually going to do a retailer version that I am going to buy that too. So it's like, I'm like, okay, I'll hold off. I collect, I have a full set of Figura in box. The only thing besides a couple carded like Star Wars type figures and stuff, but like the only Four Horsemen thing that I collect in box is I have an open set, and then I have an in-box set. So, I have 2 of these, and I'm tempted to get another set for customs and stuff, or just kit bashes or whatever, but I may hold off. I might have done it if they didn't announce the next thing already.
I know. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
You've already put the money. Yeah. You're putting the money down for something brand new coming in, on Friday or whatever. So, yeah, I'm the same way. Kind of leery to do it, but the other thing is although these are all new parts, like the bare arms and bare legs, like we're going to get those again really soon.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them we're going to get this year because
right.
like the lower legs, the bare lower legs on Anubis are going to be on the George Gaspar figure, right? Like, and then there might be some other pieces there too.
So, but I think they're amazing, and I was super excited to get her. Like I said, I've already got 2 customs in my head, and I've got one head here and one head on the way. I think it's here that I want to use her for. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I wonder if like Len or someone will do alternate heads that pet, like with the pet. You know how people have done like the chest pieces that plug in that adapter. You know, I wonder if anybody will do alternate heads to plug in to have different gods with these headdress pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. Because they've got that plug on the back of the head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a square. It's a square plug that goes into the neck. The head has the neck peg in it, so it'd be pretty much a regular custom 3D sculpted head, just with that square, just sized right and with that square on the back to plug in.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, I'm super excited. So last chance to get one of these from Store Horseman tomorrow morning, beginning at 11 a.m. They've put so many up there, and these will come down before Friday. You will not have these next Friday. So if they don't all sell out, it's coming down. If they all sell out, then it's, they're going to ship. And, but yeah, last chance to grab these 2 figures.
Yeah, we weren't able to get them, and we can't get them this time either. So hopefully they'll be at Legion's Con for us to pick up at the table.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what we did for the Monkey King too, because the Monkey King, it's like, didn't want it at first. Then I watched Bill's review, and then I'm like, oh, I really want that. Then, couldn't get it, and then got it at Legion's Con. So my plan is to get a couple of these for Legion's Con.
Yeah, I'd say there's going to be a very, very good chance of it being there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel like you're not going to be able to get these for sure.
Yeah. They don't mess around when it comes to the Figura stuff. They want to be able to have these for a while at shows because it is such a signature thing. It is such a it's such a like a centerpiece type thing. You know what I mean? It's such a big deal that I think that they just want to have them available.
Well, if people don't know anything else about any of the other characters, then the Figura characters, when you look at those, like, what those are immediately.
Yeah.
So it brings a lot of people into the line that would not have had the opportunity, to get into the line. Once they see these little bitty pieces of art, they can't help themselves but to get more. But these are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear? So last night they were going over the reasoning as to why they didn't sell them individually, right? A lot of people were complaining, I'd rather just be able to buy Anubis or just be able to buy Bastet just alone. And, they did talk about the reasoning being that they basically don't want to like get the numbers wrong and then have one of them or the other sell out and have people stiffed who want them both. So they did them as a set, but they didn't want to do it as a 2-pack because, and this is what they revealed last night, because this is going to be an ongoing series. So next time they might release a single Osiris or something, right? Like they might release just a single one. And then your collection is like this 2-pack and this 1-pack. So like they wanted to have it be kind of consistent with these single packed figures across the line as it grows. This sort of, they're calling it like a subline of Figura with the Egyptian gods.
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And Another thought that crossed my mind, and they haven't said anything about it. There's not been a figure obscura that we haven't gotten a retailer exclusive release yet.
Yeah.
There's not been one yet, and I can't imagine these would be the first ones. So my thought process is, and possibilities that stand out are, could they, at the time that they release these as a retailer exclusive, allow the retailers to just buy one or the other, whatever is sold?
They've said that's
have
what
they?
they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this gets a retail release, you'll be able to pick and choose and order 5 of one and 1 of the other, or 0 of the other,
Right.
whatever many you want, because it's all pre-orders at that point.
Right, because they're all pre-orders instead of stuff that they've got in stock. So I think that would be fantastic, and I think that is a good way to do it. And again, exactly like I did. If you want one and don't want the other, then buy both. And I assure you that there is somebody on the cabal that will get the other one from you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I didn't have any trouble selling my extra Anubis, and I cannot imagine anybody having any trouble selling Bastet.
And this makes it even easier than a 2-pack, because you're getting a sealed figure still. You're getting the full package, the whole thing, like like in terms of buying off somebody secondhand. So this is a no-brainer. Yeah,
it is. All right. Okay, Bill. We have talked for 30 minutes and haven't even got to the questions yet. It's going to be a great night. My pages and pages of questions for you.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't I tell you?
She did her homework.
Manuscript.
So, I have lots of questions, and you are a dear for coming on and allowing me to ask all of my questions. We're going to start back when you were a kid. Think way back. Well, not as far back as me, but just way back. Do you remember the very first action figures or toys that you collected?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had Megos early on. I had a Captain America. One that sticks out to me is a Captain America Mego. And I had some Dukes of Hazzard figures, but it's hard to say like what's first. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of like have all these old figures, and you know now which ones were like came out earlier or something. But the one thing I very distinctly remember was before I had ever seen Star Wars, the original movie, I had received a hand-me-down collection of Star Wars figures. This is probably like, so I was born in 76, and this was probably 1980, maybe around the time Empire Strikes Back came out, right?
Yeah.
Very young at that point still. But yeah, so I remember getting like a hand-me-down, the Kenner Death Star, which always had like one support beam that was missing. I remember that, but I could still kind of support it. And so I had a little like hand-me-down collection of Star Wars, and that really kicked off my collecting. Like from there, I think Star Wars was on TV at some point, and I watched it. And then, shortly after, my dad was really into VHS very early. He was like an early adopter. Mm-hmm. And so like he would like copy rentals and stuff. And so we had some of the movies pretty early on too. And I'd watch the movies, and then that just like sparked that collection, and I just started really heavily collecting. By the time Return of the Jedi came out, I was like super heavy into it. It was like all I wanted. I was also collecting G.I. Joe. I remember, I think my first G.I. Joe was like, I was homesick from, it might even have been kindergarten or like even like my early daycare years, but like, I remember just being home, and my mom got me a G.I. Joe figure, and like I was homesick with a G.I. Joe figure, and that kind of kicked off that one. So I was really into G.I. Joe. I probably, at its peak, I probably had more G.I. Joe than anything else at one point, like because so many vehicles and stuff. And
Right.
then Transformers was another big one. I'd never really got heavy into He-Man myself. I maybe had like one or two, and that was mostly because my cousins had a ton of He-Man stuff, and so like that was always their thing, and I would always play with that over their house. And I didn't really like the show. I didn't watch the show much. I didn't really like the show that much. Really wasn't until I was an adult and I started hanging out with Larry from the show that I started reading the mini comics and really got into like Masters of the Universe through that. But yeah, so Star Wars, GI Joe, and Transformers, like those were the big three for me when I was really little.
Would you say
Yeah.
would be your favorite one?
Well, after everything's said and done, it's Star Wars, like because that really carried on. That carried through. The Thrawn books came out. The Timothy Zahn Thrawn books came out when I was in high school, and so like I kind of like reignited my Star Wars stuff. And I never really got reignited with GI Joe or Transformers until much later than that. But like I was reading Star Wars books. I was playing Star Wars video games. The 90s was like actually a pretty good time to be a Star Wars fan, even though it was still sort of like fringe type stuff. Like you had the Super Nintendo games, you had the Thrawn books, and then N64 came out, and you had the N64 games. Like Rogue Squadron is like one of my all time favorite video games just ever. And so yeah, Star Wars just kept carrying through, and then they did the special editions, and then the prequels started coming out. So it just like it has always been that thing for me is Star Wars. Yeah.
Um, so just a little side story. Kevin
Yeah.
had an extra Luke, and ended up using a magnifying glass and burning off his hand so that he could see that he
Classic. Wow. Does that really work? I don't think I ever was able to like burn off a plastic hand.
But he wanted it to look like the lightsaber had went through his hand, and he had burned one off. So awesome. Yes, big Star Wars collector downstairs as well for me. So I just thought that was really funny.
No, I don't like. There was a point around 87 where I started to shift, where my friend, like it became, and I kind of like, I've always regretted this, like as a kid who kind of caved to peer pressure and just like the pressure of like being cool or whatever. But yeah, I just like, I gave a bunch of stuff away. It was like, that was the thing you do. Like you give it away to the next generation of kids and you move on and you're on skateboards and, bikes and sports and whatever else. But I always still had that drive. Like Legos were still okay around that age, right. Like around 10, 11 years old. And, but yeah, I really, that was one of those things where it felt like too kiddie to me. And I always had been like, I really like action figures still, but I can't really collect them or something, but that was, so I, like little bit later Ninja Turtles were more popular, and I wasn't really into them because again, I was like kind of like being more of a big kid or whatever. But I still watched a lot of the cartoons and stuff, and I played Ninja Turtles on the Nintendo. That game was fantastic. But yeah.
So do you have any of the figures that you collected as a kid?
No. Okay. I have nothing. I have nothing left. I actually don't have anything like from my childhood. I feel like we moved towns in 87, and I feel like when that happened, like just a bunch of stuff got purged out of my life, yeah. One of the things I that could have made it but never did were Legos. Like I actually, even going after that for a while, I was like collecting and building Legos and stuff, but yeah, I have nothing. I mean, the oldest thing I have are probably those Thrawn books from high school. I do still have those. So that's like in terms of like my nerd stuff that I would still have. Like that, I mean, actually any object, any physical thing from my childhood, that's probably the oldest thing I have.
Wow.
Oh, I do have a Liberty coin from 86. So the bicentennial, or no, the 100-year
Right.
anniversary of the Statue of Liberty, right? Like they had the Statue of Liberty coin. I still have that.
Wow.
But yeah, I know a lot of people still have everything from their childhood. It's impressive to me.
Yeah. Kevin's mom kept all of his stuff, like all of his stuff. He's still got
That's awesome.
Migos and all kinds of figures and stuff.
Nice.
I believe they're still in, in either his room or in her house somewhere.
Right.
But at some point, I know that she's going to be like, come get these things. But prayerfully, and not until I get a space
Honestly,
to set
if
them
that
up.
hasn't happened yet, like, I mean, when's it going to happen?
Oh, okay. You are married.
Yeah.
Have children?
I have one daughter.
Oh, awesome. And you are a teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What kind of, from your childhood into high school, into college, what kind of led you to be a teacher?
It's funny. I always enjoyed school. That was one thing. Like, I didn't always enjoy everything about school, but I always enjoyed learning and just reading and, I've always enjoyed some like aspects of school. And so, there's like that part of it. Right. And then like I went to college and I didn't actually have a career in mind. I'd never had a career in mind. I graduated high school and I was like, everybody's going to college. I'm going to go to college, and like it was the best place for me because I'm just a learner. I love learning and I love books and I love libraries and I love classes and, I just never have had I never had a career that I was like, I got to do that. Like I'm focused. I got to become this thing. So my first full year of college, I didn't even have a major until I think my sophomore year. And it really came down to a class I really liked. It was a comparative lit class. So it wasn't the English department and then you have comparative lit department. They're different. And it was a comparative lit class. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to study comparative literature. So I did that. But like I didn't really have, I guess there's not a lot of paths there in terms of like practical career type stuff, And so I graduated and I didn't really have any job prospects or anything like that. And I worked at a pizza place. I worked at Costco. That's actually where I met my wife. So thank God I worked at, thank God I didn't have a career path because I wouldn't have met my wife. So, and then after Costco, I found a job at a nonprofit that is like job development for adults with like cognitive disabilities. So like, people with Down syndrome, people like autistic people, like they're like taking them out, going to find jobs. Like it was actually a really genius business because basically I was an employee who would go to like, say I had a Barnes and Noble, right? Like, and I would go to Barnes and Noble and I'd be like, look, I can, like, if you hire this person, I can like be an additional trainer. Like I will be here until, until they are fully immersed and good at the job. And like, so it was kind of like a genius move because like you get to help somebody with special needs find a job as a company, but then you also get like this additional person almost like working there for you for free because I'm getting paid by the company that employed me, not by Barnes and Noble. And so, yeah, so the goal was to like train them at their jobs until they were like, they didn't need any help, right? Until they were self-sufficient. So like that in as wonderful as that job is, it does not, it's human services, does not pay. You can't really like unless you become the owner of the company or something, like you can't really like live a life in that like job that it's just like not good pay. And it's why
Right.
people leave that career, that like that, that area all the time. Um, so at that point, I was like, you know what? I have, I'm still young. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I have time, like night school. So I decided to like look into teaching. And I was like, clearly doing this job, I have the patience to teach. I'm teaching. So that's kind of really
Right.
what led me to like, and just, I think a lot of just people pressuring me to like you should be a teacher, so like that really led to it. And that's how I became a teacher. I also had like at that point, um, I was really starting to solidify my relationship with my, you know, soon to be wife, right? At that point, we
Right.
had been dating for a year or so. We were together for a while at that point, and a lot of encouragement from her, who was like super career minded. At that point, she was in college and she was finishing up and getting ready, and like at around that same time, maybe about a year after that job, um, she got her job in Boston, and it kind of like brought me out to Boston from Western Mass. And so she was always career minded, and like honestly, like if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have been as driven as I was to like go to night school and get my teaching certificate and then get my master's degree and like do all that stuff. Because you thrive with other people who are thriving, and when you're with people who aren't, you tend to be settle for mediocrity or whatever.
Right.
What subject
Absolutely.
do you teach?
I teach English in the high school.
Do you have all grades or just a certain grade?
I've taught all grades, but right now I have all 10th, so all 16-year-olds.
Ugh.
It's the
I have
best
a
age.
I have
Best
a
age to teach.
14-year-old and oh my god, he drives me crazy.
I couldn't teach 14. I
Ugh.
can't even teach freshmen, but sophomores are great. They've have enough experience to be comfortable in the school, but they're not jaded juniors who are like too cool for everything. They're still
Mhm.
like they're like right in the middle of still being kids, but like being mature, and like they'll laugh at my stupid jokes, but they'll get down to business when it's time to work. It's like it's a really good age.
What is your favorite thing about being a teacher?
Um, I mean, it's definitely the kids, but that's a very broad
Right.
statement, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a couple elements there. One is like you hang out with kids, and it keeps you young, and it just keeps you young at heart, and it's just there's a certain, I don't know, it's just fun in that part. It's like you just hanging out with kids, they're joking around, they're a lot of fun. So there's that side of it, but then like the other side of it is I love reading and I love books, and I love it when I can get to a point where I've got these kids hooked, and they're into the book. And especially like if I can get a reluctant reader to like enjoy a book like that, like reading and talking about books is like probably the other part of it, especially the fact that they're kids, and it's like this very like new, I don't know, sometimes maybe I'm just projecting and I'm imagining like how I was back then, right? And how I said earlier that I loved reading and books and I loved
Yeah.
learning in high school. But when you get to that point with the kids, it's fun.
Yeah.
Do they know that you're YouTube famous with your channel?
I'm not YouTube famous, but I'm famous at Legion's Con.
So you're famous to us, Bill.
At Legion's Con, I mean, I'm in the cabal, maybe slightly. Um, but I don't really tell them about it. Not that I don't want. I really am tempted all the time to like share it with them because I like sharing my life with them. But I find it to be a conflict of interest. So I don't want to like be check out my YouTube channel. I need some subscriber. I like no matter how I present it to them, like in some level, it's that. It's like these kids might subscribe, or I don't want, and I make money on my channel, not much money, but it's a conflict of interest for me. So I don't ever tell them, but I do have some students who find out, and there's a few kids who know, like this year, right at the start of the year, there was one kid who, there's just a couple kids, like not many, because we know a lot of kids these days aren't really interested in figures, but there are kids who are into it and they'll come across it. But yeah, and then they'll ask me about it and I'll talk to them about it. And at that point I'm fine, because I didn't tell them about it. So it's
right.
And I explained to them that's why I don't say. A couple kids found out at the end of last year and they felt almost like betrayed.
Oh.
And I was like, look, and I just explained like that situation. I was like, look, I make money at that. I can't be like advertising it to you guys,
Right.
but it's wonderful that you found out, and check it out. Most kids, they don't
Right.
collect figures, so they're not that nobody. There's one like kind of common thread about like nobody really cares about your YouTube channel, like
right.
Some people think, once they find out they're going to be super into it, or once they find out they're going to think you're an idiot, or once they find like nobody really cares. They're just like, oh, you're doing that thing, cool, like
oh, you're on YouTube.
I'm into smell maxing, I just learned what that is. Smell maxing. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I don't even know what that is.
So teenage boys are like super into cologne right now, and like really expensive cologne. And it's almost like, it reminds me of like after what was that movie about wine? The one with not a good reference, but anyway, like when wine, people became really into wine and tasting wine and like the nuances of wine and all that stuff. I mean, I was even into it. I still am. I love wine, but like, it was like, it's like, I had noticed some of my students, they're like pulling out bottles of cologne and talking about it. And then recently there was a New York Times article, and apparently it's called smell maxing. And it's like kids are super into it. It's like this hobby, and it's like they're aficionados, and they put a lot of like learning into it and stuff. It's like this whole thing. It's like wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least they don't
sideways.
stink.
Yeah.
Sideways. Yep.
At least they don't stink. No,
Yeah.
I
mean, because a lot of
masking
teenagers do stink, but then
It's true.
sometimes with cologne they put way too much on.
Yeah.
Like,
and it stinks anyway.
And it stinks, and you're like, oh my god, I got a headache.
But that's the thing about smell maxing, is these guys are like, they're nuanced with it, and like they aren't putting too much on because they know that that's like a thing, So
That's good.
Oh wow.
It's funny.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's almost like sneakers. Like kids got into sneakers, you
Yeah.
know, and like that was a big thing. But
yeah. So when my son was in middle school, they had a dress code, and it became about the socks. Like Nike released their socks, and they were like $14 a piece, and everybody had to have those socks, and they came in all different colors, and you couldn't wash them with certain things. So that's when my son started doing his own laundry, because I told him that I wash my clothes a certain way, and if he wanted these socks, he had to wash them.
wow, I've never heard of the socks thing.
Yeah, so it was a thing.
Do you see Tanya, can you pull up Jordan's comment? I'll sponsor the best smell maxer to come teach the attendees at Legion's Cup.
Smell Max breakout room.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So if you were not going to be a teacher, what would you do?
I honestly don't know, because I've been pretty burnt out from it for a few years. Mostly post-pandemic, I've been really burnt out on teaching, and I've contemplated like, what should I do? Should I move on? Should I, the pension is usually what like keeps me in, because it's like this weird trap that like every time you look at a couple years ahead and then you jump another year and it's like this big jump. But Yeah, I don't know. Like, I honestly think that if I left teaching, I'd probably find another state job to keep my pension, but
Gotcha.
I don't really have a lot of like hard skills. So I'd probably end up like working. I'd probably just like work like part time at the airport or something. Just like, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe try to just really build out my channel or something. But like keep a
Right.
job that would like maintain the fact that I have a pension just enough, like
Right.
whatever the minimum I could do like, to keep my
Yeah.
pension. Um, but I'll probably see it through with teaching. But if I, like just like that big theoretical, if I weren't teaching, if I could have a dream job, like, gosh, I don't know. Um, I've always thought like I could maybe be in like editing or something or publishing. I, I love the idea of like making something, like being at a company that makes something. I could see myself doing marketing, maybe making videos for someone, something like that.
I think you would be very good at editing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, your love for reading, your love for books and stuff like that, I think that would probably be a good fit.
Mm.
Um, so let's talk about Dorklair.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your first like YouTube channel? Did you have something before you started Dorklair?
No, I mean, that was my first YouTube channel. I mean, Dorklair was a podcast before it was a YouTube channel, and
Mm-hmm.
both were happening for quite a while together. In the last year or so, it's really like I've almost stopped publishing them altogether as a podcast, just
Right.
mostly for the sake of time, having a full-time career and then also having this. It's like I got to pick my battles. But
Yeah.
so actually the one thing I did have before was I had a podcast for a it's not a game, but a collectible thing. It was a digital collectible thing called Star Wars Card Trader Tops Company. Around 2015, they started an app where you could open packs, collect cards, and you get like a certain number of credits a day, and you could just like open packs and then trade cards. And like it became like very quickly became a popular thing. And then a couple people we were in Reddit. Um, and honestly, I owe I owe a lot of being involved in the community and stuff like to Reddit itself because initially it started with figures, and then that led to I found the Reddit for Star Wars Card Trader, and then that led to meeting a couple guys who wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, hey, I'll do it. Like I had never made a podcast before. Somebody else did. He had, and we called it the Trade Federation Podcast. And then that went on for a couple years, and we started kind of just it expanded to other topics beyond just the card trader thing. And then the main co-host, he really stopped joining us, and he was too busy, like just time commitments. Like it was really tough to keep something together with multiple people. Um, and so I started thinking about like, all right, I'm gonna do something on my own. I love podcasting, and I want to do something on my own. And so I just started thinking it's probably gonna be like at that time, SH Figure Arts was like my favorite thing to collect, Star Wars SH Figure Arts. And I started thinking, okay, I'm gonna start with that, but I don't want it to be committed to that. So I just started racking my brain for a good name that could be unique that nobody else is using. And so I started the Dorklair podcast. And even though it was for the first like full year, this was 2017. For the first full year, it was all SH Figure Arts every week. I think for it was weekly for at least a year and a half. Every week we would talk about another figure, and then and then it slowly started growing, especially when Chris and Larry came on. That was, I think, 2018. Then we started just incorporating a lot of other toys and a lot of other toy news. And then at the end of 2018, I started the YouTube channel just to so we would do a review every week. And then just to try to like record the review that I would actually, it was more about like visually recording while I did the audio for the podcast for the review segment, if I ever did one on my own. And that happened to be Mythic Legion's figure. It was Noobnik.
Oh, wow.
And so that started to get a good reaction, and I started to kind of focus a little more on that. And you know, we were still doing both for quite a while, but eventually the YouTube channel kind of took over a little bit more. And yeah, I was really into Mezco. That was another one that in the early days of once I started shifting to doing like YouTube specific videos, Mezco really was something I was into a lot at the time. So so a lot of my early videos are Mezco figures, and then some Legions, and you know, other random stuff.
Andy the collector wants to know who your favorite Star Wars character is.
Luke. Luke is my favorite. Always has been my hero from my childhood.
You kind of touched on it, but like when you were coming up with the name Dorklair, was it just you trying to put words together that would go trying to find a channel? Was it something that
I always kind of considered my collecting room my Dorklair.
Gotcha.
So it came out of that, really.
And you said the figure arts were the first ones that you did. What was your first, like, before Numnick? Like, what was your first, like, review of a figure? Do you remember the first one you guys reviewed?
On the podcast? Pre YouTube?
Pre-YouTube.
It was Luke. It was actually Luke. It was SH Figure Arts. Farm Boy Luke was our first ever episode. And that was back.
Awesome.
I started with Brian Fontaine, who later he had a great Hot Toys. Like, he ended up moving on to Hot Toys. But he had a great Hot Toys podcast for a couple years called 6 Scale Scavengers. And they have a great Facebook group that's still very active. But yeah, that was the first one, was Luke. Farm Boy Luke Figure Arts.
That's awesome.
Hey, Amber's joined the chat.
Yay! Hey, Amber.
Hopefully she's feeling better.
Yeah, I feel better, Amber.
Do you still have that, Luke?
No, I actually recently ended up selling all of my Figure Arts Star Wars because
Gotcha.
I started shifting to Hot Toys and vintage collection. I started shifting to like ultimate toy and ultimate collectible instead of the in-between. And then I was like, I got 3 scales. I got 3 3/4, I got 12-inch, and I got 6-inch. And at that point I was like, what am I going to drop? And I dropped 6-inch.
Gotcha.
Which is crazy because it was so integral to like the Dorklair initially.
Right.
But really it came down to me wanting to collect Hot Toys and Figure Arts being, the more expensive thing. So those went.
Oh, Amber, we miss you too.
Yes.
On Legion's Ladies Live, last show that we did, we had Risha, and I sent her a figure. And when she got that figure in hand, I sent her the link to your YouTube review of that toy. When she was on the live, she said how much it meant to her to see that, because she was able to like put things together and see how things worked. And she had not up until that point had any 4 Horsemen toys at all. So that was like her first foray into it.
What figure was it? I actually was watching, but I can't remember now. What figure was it?
It was Sligor.
Okay,
I
yes.
sent her the Sligor. And she talked about how helpful that your review was and how amazing it was. Like, not just her saying it, but I can imagine like you hear that all the time on your reviews, and like what, like how does that make you feel to know that people are watching this, even if, you know, first time collector, and that your review has helped them be able to do stuff with a figure that they normally wouldn't do?
That's kind of become the goal of my channel, is to be like a welcoming place to newcomers. Like that actually is like on my mind all the time. Like that I noticed it pretty early on with Legion's stuff. And you know, especially the last couple years with the question came up in the chat here from Brad. I'm assuming that's Brad Broder of
Mm-hmm.
Bjorngar.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bill going to do the Pop and Swap 101 at Legion's Con again this year? And yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. And like that whole element of it has really become part of it. Like even when I do my topic videos, like if I'm going to do like best figures to Pop and Swap, or my most, like one I want to work on is if I have the time, I don't know if I'm going to have the time. I want to do, if I can get it done within a week by like the end of the weekend, I want to do like top 5 figures that should get a version 2, like, you know, like that type of video. Even when I do those types of videos, I still try to like explain things and give people like information that is very useful to newcomers to the line. And I you know, because a lot of it is like, because people have said I really appreciate that, then it's reinforces the value of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very valuable. Even for me, when I get old figures and I go back and watch some of the stuff that you know you've put out, or and am able to see kind of, you know, what you did with it and how certain things go together and how they fit on there, because you know
Some of it's
some of those
guesswork.
capes and stuff, yeah, I mean, but at
Like
least you're like, this is how I do it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that too.
one time I think it was Alithia. I forget who it was. It was somebody with elaborate cloth goods. And I was like, this is, I think, how it's done. And then like, it's funny because I remember CJ was showing us how to do it when he had the prototype or something. It was on the
Right.
Legion's Lounge. And then when I did my video, I was like, I think this is how we did it. And then like CJ chimed in maybe in the comments or something. He's like, no, it's this way. And so it's, you know, it's sometimes it's just like guesswork or like my best interpretation of what I think it should be.
Right.
What's your favorite part about having a YouTube channel?
I think that, like, I think being able to like help newcomers to like now it really is all about Legions. You know, I do other stuff, mostly Legions adjacent type stuff. But because of that, like I really do I love being able to show people the pop and swaps. I get a lot of people really like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a nice feedback loop of just like fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like I have a very small channel still. Like it's still under 10,000, you know? A lot of people who've been on there since 2018 are like 100,000 viewers. But I have like a great audience. Like my comments are always great. Once in a while I get an a-hole, you know, but like it's a very high concentration of awesome people, many of which I've met in person because we go to Legion's Con and stuff. So like that aspect of it, like the community aspect of it is awesome. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
And what is the worst thing about having a YouTube channel?
So here's the problem with it. It's not about having a YouTube channel. It's about having an action figure review YouTube channel. I have a giant mess all the time because I'm constantly like, so there's always the next thing to review, right? There's always something next. And so the thing I'm working on now, I'm popping it apart. I'm popping and swapping. I'm digging into my other figures and I'm pulling those out and I'm pulling those apart and I'm mixing and matching. I'm pulling figures down for comparisons. I'm opening up lots of figures, and there's just this constant mess. And unless I take a couple weeks off from doing videos, the mess is just going to get worse and worse. It's just like right now, I'm embarrassed at how messy. I have piles and piles of just disassembled Legions figures in the clamshells, like the emptied clamshells. Like I have like literally like, look at this. Like I have probably 30 of these just sitting around
Oh,
the
wow.
floors of my room. Like just look at the stuff in this thing. Like people can look at this and be like if you watch my channel like regularly, you're probably like, oh yeah, there's the parts he used for the swap in this video, in that video, in these most recent like 3 or 4 videos. Like it's just like this stuff is just laying around everywhere because I'm working on the next video. I don't have time to like reassemble figures and put them away, and it really, like, I'm looking forward to the summer when I have some time to clean the mess of 23 to 24. It's just, I got to put figures back together. Like, it's just crazy.
So when did you, like, I know you talked about SH Figure Arts. When did you actually like get back into collecting as an adult? Like what led you back into collecting some of the figures as an adult?
So 2014, I became a dad, and I had been collecting since in high school. I was from high school through college through adulthood. I was collecting, but not figures. I was collecting Magic the Gathering, and I was playing regularly with my friends. We would get together monthly at least, even when I moved to Boston. Like we were still getting together very regularly, playing lots of Magic. When I became a dad, like that wasn't possible anymore.
Right.
And we all became parents around the same time, you know, like some a little earlier, some a little later. And it just started to become like, all right, we're playing like twice a year now. So there was that aspect of it. And then there was also the fact that one of my core friends, so these are all high school friends all the way up through till today, we still get together. And one of them had been working at Hasbro for years, and he would get Magic for dirt cheap. Like he would, like we could buy boxes for like less than half price, and we were just like building our collections like crazy with his employee discount. And like, so the combination of him leaving Hasbro and me just being a snob and be like, I can't pay full price for Magic. And then like just becoming a dad and just not having time to play. It just, the appeal of like buying more cards just like completely just dissolved, you know. Eventually it came back, and I would get things here and there, and I would buy singles and stuff. But that's when I was like, just, you know, I've always been a collector, and I was just thinking nostalgia, become a dad, and you're thinking nostalgia and stuff. And I was like, let me see if I can go back and like get some Kenner figures, like my all-time favorite childhood toys. Like, let me see if I can like go back and find. And I actually started looking through Craigslist, and I actually picked up this one lot that was like, it's like $100, and it was like tons of figures, a case, like, you know, busted up vehicles, like just a ton of cool stuff. And I brought those home, and the figures were, you know, like any garage kind of like stuff, like they were filthy, you know. And I was like, I gotta figure out how to clean these things and sanitize them and make them like appealing to just even hold in my hands. So that's where I found like people on Reddit, and people just like, here's how you like restore vintage Star Wars figures, and you know. And then so from there, that opened my eyes to modern figure collecting. And it was right around then that Black Series came out, and then shortly thereafter Figure Arts. And so like that was like where I went next. I went to Black Series, and I would kind of like stop at like Target, and Walgreens was a big thing back then too for Star Wars stuff. So like I kind of started getting into that, and like the community, and just I saw people taking pictures, and I was like, oh, I had always loved photography. I loved travel photography and stuff. And so like, you know what? Like I'm stuck in my house a lot of times when I'm not at work. So maybe taking pictures of figures would be fun. And so like started doing that, and kind of like getting a little bit into the toy I never really like developed because I started podcasting and like going more in that direction. But like,
Right.
you know, toy photography and toy collecting and toy chats and that stuff. And so that was all, you know, 2014, 2015. And as I was doing that other Star Wars Card Trader podcast, I was getting more and more into collecting figures, and just it kind of grew from there. Yeah, so 2014 was when it happened.
When did you first hear about Four Horsemen and Mythic Legions?
Like during their first Kickstarter, I heard about them because I, you know, I at that point I was like, you know, even in 2014 when I first started collecting, I was watching Pixel Dan, I was watching Shartimus Prime, and I would see like I would see you know, Masters of the Universe classics, right? Like, and then from there I heard about Four Horsemen. Like, I was not a collector in the 90s of figures, so I had no clue. Like, I remember McFarlane stuff, but like I didn't collect McFarlane, like, and I didn't know who the Four Horsemen were. It wasn't really until I started seeing people talking about you know, Motu classics. And then, you know, you're just in these groups and you hear about Kickstarters and different things, and I remember hearing about that. I didn't actually buy in until Covenant of Shadows, but yeah, I was aware of it from the beginning.
So, Hedgehog said, Bill, how do you deal with the massive influx of fame and riches that come with being a toy tuber?
I wear a hood. And yeah, I miss the days of just being able to go out on the street and be a nobody, you know, just.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. The first mythic that you said you did the YouTube review of was Nubnik. Is he your first figure?
No,
like your first?
My first was I ordered 2 figures on the Covenant of Shadows pre-order. It was the Deluxe Knight, the first Deluxe Knight with the blue tabard, and I knew because I had been listening to various podcasts. Actually, one podcast that I loved, and that was a heavy influence on Dorklair originally, was called Action Figure Blues. It was an Australian podcast. I don't know if they're still around, but they were collecting legions, and like that really like opened my eyes to this idea of like popping and swapping. And I knew that the Deluxe Knight came with like multiple torsos, and it just was like, you know, it was made to be messed around. And so I ordered also a Templar at that time because it was the same wave. And I was like, I know I can mix and match these parts. So those were my actual first 2 figures, was the Templar and the Deluxe Knight.
Do you still have them?
Yeah, I do, and I actually have a review. So for a little while, pre-Dorklair, I had a column basically on the RetroZap website where I would do, once in a while, I would do action figure review and photography stuff, and it was called Photographic Plastic. So if you Google Photographic Plastic Legions, you'll find really my first Legions review, because it's a review of the Deluxe Knight, and it's a written.
That's
it's a
awesome.
Photos and it's a written review, and
Nice.
I would do that for figures here and there. RetroZap really was like my home base for many years for all of it, and Joe Tavano, who owns RetroZap, is local to me, so he's one of the few like local friends I have that collects and that is into this stuff. Huge Star Wars fan, so he really like supported Dorklair early on.
So you popping and swapping happened almost immediately with Legions when you got your first 2. But like now, when you see a new line that we're getting ready to, get, and you're looking at all the figures, are you like cataloging what you can pop and swap with some of those?
A little bit, not as much as many other people. A lot of it, there was a time where I was trying to do that. Like I remember one of the All Stars waves, the one with Torion and Malleus, All Stars 3 maybe. So that All Stars wave, I remember when that first was announced, thinking I'm gonna approach this with the because I remember regretting, like up until then, I remember regretting not getting extras of things to do pop
Right.
and swaps, and that was really the first time where I was like, I'm gonna approach this from the mentality of I want to get extras just so I have the parts. And I got extra Torions and Malleus's because I knew I wanted to do like an all black barbarian. Like the Malleus armor is basically like dark gray black, and then the Torion black flesh body parts and stuff. I was like, that's like something I definitely want to do. And like I remember very specifically targeting that during that wave. It's a little different now because there's so many unique parts in the new waves that it's almost hard to wrap my head around it. So I just try to find figures with symmetry or figures that look like, I don't know, like I do still do it. Like I do still buy extras of certain ones, but it's a little trickier because oftentimes it's not until I get them in hand and then I'm like, that idea I had didn't matter because this other idea is like mind blowing and I got to go there. And like, so it's a little harder to like look at these right away nowadays and then be like, that's the perfect pop and swap.
Right. How many of your figures that you have done pop and swaps with, like, do you keep exactly the way that you put them together? I mean, is there
a low percentage?
Okay.
Because I do so many in the videos. So
like
in
if
a
you
video,
had to guess.
I don't think I could put like a percentage if I had to guess a percentage or a number. Like I probably have on the shelves right now, I might have only 10 figures that are like just straight pop and swaps that I've done. And some of them are just like very recent ones. Like a lot of times I don't have necessarily enough figures to make it permanent,
Right.
like a what's his name, Brother Mandibulus. I've done some really cool ones with him, but it always goes back to Brother Mandibulus afterwards,
Right.
because I only have one Brother Mandibulus. So it's a lot of that, but once in a while there's one that just hits and it's like, yep, I'm gonna keep that on the shelf, or I'm gonna plan to like get the extras to do that thing.
Right.
But like I said, it's just a giant mess all the time. That like, and like even my shelves are a mess because I'm constantly just grabbing down, putting up, just trying to keep things out of the way, like moving things around. And it's like, I almost don't have a display anymore. It's just like crowded shelves of just stuff just stored all over the place.
What is your favorite pop and swap that you've ever done?
I always go back to one of the simplest ones, and that is the Torion. Torion is like my perennial awesome, and you could also just like insert Black Krampus, right?
Right.
But that body. So I always go back to Sir Owain with Torion. Actually, let me grab it. Hold on. And I have the cat head on here right now, but it looks equally awesome with the Owain head.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Owain in Torion's body, and I loved all the matte blacks that are in the Owain. Like right up here is matte black. This area of the belt, this part of the skirt, like this one just hit. It was just a random one, and when I did it, I've always loved this. I just feel like Owain is like the most underrated pop and swap figure. It's such a good figure for swapping, and I just love this look.
That's awesome.
Simple, but really cool.
Yeah. Have you ever had anybody approach you to purchase one of your pop and swaps?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, because it's just like you could just make it yourself. That's the beauty of it. Like I make customs for people to just go make their own customs, no matter what skill level, right? Like
Right.
it, and I do some customs. Like I do some painting. I got a goblin head right here. I don't ever have enough time to do it, but once in a while go on a little kick and I'll like paint up something. Um, but for the most part, all of my own creations are just pop and swaps. And again, I love it because it's just like you could go do this yourself. Like you can be creative, and that's the genius of Four Horsemen, right?
Right.
You can go be creative and you can go do this yourself, and you can make something unique and original. And I try to make figures that are like I personally I think this could be a release. Like
Yeah.
people talk about like tributes. I would love it if they ever were like, we're gonna do a Dorklair tribute. I would love it if they were like, let's just do one of his pop and swaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So, I was going to ask how you display your figures, but you've been telling us that you don't have a display anymore because they're all just laying around in things.
yeah, I mean, like you can see some shelves up here,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Those are my floating shelves. I have bookshelves up here, like I have random like Ultra Magnus like
Right.
sitting up there. There's Trevor's calendar right here.
Woo!
But yeah, I just have up here in front of me, I've got some shelves. I have Detoffs over here. I got some more shelves. Yeah, I got shelves and stuff, but it's all a mess right now.
Right. If your figures are not like displayed, if you don't have them up in a display, like how do you store them?
Typically,
Because you don't keep the boxes, do you?
no. So I use plastic bags.
Oh, okay.
So like, hold on. So like cubes, like these like these types of cube things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are perfect for like two layers of bagged figures in these kinds of bags.
Oh wow.
So like all my cosmic stuff's here because I haven't really figured out how I want to display it all yet.
Right.
So I tend to have them in bags in there.
Gotcha. And do you catalog them? Like, do you know what you have? Do you have a way to keep up with the figures that you've got?
Other than I just buy everything, so I know I have everything. Like that's, I'm trying to think. Arethyr maybe. I'm trying to think of the first wave I went all in on, right? Like I can just be like from there forward. I've bought everything. I've gone all in on pretty much everything. Maybe one or two waves I didn't, but yeah.
Hey, Rob Zamora has a great question. What does Bill's wife think of his toy collecting and YouTube channel?
She tolerates it. Like, she's very supportive. She's very supportive of it. She knows that I love doing it, so she's been super supportive of it. But she doesn't get it, and she's not interested in it, and like once in a while, maybe a figure obscura will like catch her eye and she'll think it's neat or something. But like, she doesn't have that collecting mentality that we have,
Yeah.
Right. Do you, and I know that I've seen you go through and sell a few of your things. Do you like at times, do you go through and like go through your collection and say, I've got to get rid of so many of these, and then
I do purges,
sell them out? And
Yep.
how do you like choose what you're going? I mean, how do you decide what to purge? I mean, do you just do extras? Do you like, if I haven't used these in so long, I'm not going to keep them anymore? What's the?
If it's not legions, it's almost always fair game. every year I become like a little closer to like to being like Legion's centric with everything. So there's that. Like I probably wouldn't really sell a Legion I have a single of at this point. You know, I've done it in the past, but like I'm at the point now where it's like I don't really want to go down a mythic or a cosmic or something like but I do have extras of things like I have a couple extra Sligors that I could see myself selling or trading or something. Things that I grab, you know, just grab extras of, or that maybe they were on sale or whatever. But then when it comes to other stuff, it's almost all fair game. Like if something goes way up in value, I might just sell it. You know, like that's another thing that can help to like, you know, help with my wife tolerating this stuff is if I'm not
offsetting the cost.
If I'm offsetting the cost, like it's really good.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I like if I have a hot toy that's like, oh man, that thing's worth like $800 right now. Like I have no problem just like selling it, you know?
Right.
And then yeah, like anything that's either not front and center and I'm not like obsessed with right now, or that is, you know, something I can make some extra money on, it's fair game. I'll sell it. It's just a matter of like, you know, doing it, like listing and stuff.
Right.
Andy Collector asked, is there a figure that you're like, no, it's perfect, I won't pop and swap?
That's so here's the thing with that. If I'm gonna pop and swap, if I'm gonna like do a permanent pop and swap and not swap, like anything's fair game to pop and swap, but like I can always put it back, right? So the other part of that is like I'll just get an extra one. So like I'll, you know, I generally will want a stock figure in addition to whatever pop and swaps I do, which is like I said earlier, like if I don't have an extra brother Mandibulus, I might swap it and I might do a custom, and then I'll take a picture and I'll put it back, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually the fun part is the popping and swapping. It's not necessarily here's this thing for my shelf. It's like, let me do this thing and be creative and have fun, show it to people, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. So VDog is asking a great question, and I do want to bring this up. And while we're doing that, we are going to add this to the stage because we are going to actually give one away. So VDog is saying, Bill, can you explain your new Dorklair shirt? What do all the symbols represent?
So most of the symbols are just kind of like generic, like dungeony things, like a treasure chest, a skull, a staircase, a scroll with a pen, like all those things, the stack of coins, all those things are, you know, they're just sort of like little things that you might find in a, you know, on a map crawling a dungeon, you know. But there's 3 on there that represent the 3 hosts of the Dorklair. So Larry is obsessed with Warduke. So David included Warduke's helmet in the middle there. David, I'm pretty obsessed with Buzzoff. He's like my favorite Masters of the Universe character. And David had created the amazing Buzzoff custom that I was lucky enough to buy, and it's in my collection. And
like he's going to sell it to anybody else.
It's the most amazing thing. And so, the B is represents me. And then Chris left the podcast because he is just, you know, spending his time on other things, just something he didn't want to put a lot of time into anymore. So it's kind of like, where's Chris? So the magnifying glass is Chris. So those are the only 3 that have like symbolic meaning. Everything else is like typical, like dungeon crawler, dungeon map type stuff.
So Bill has either a small or a medium available, and we are going to give one away right now. So let me bring that down. Let me share the screen and hashtag Dorklair. If you guys will do hashtag Dorklair, and mine is expected on Saturday. So hopefully it will get here really soon.
Nice.
But super excited, you guys. Hashtag Dorklair, and let's give away one of his t-shirts. Such a great thing.
And a
All
reminder,
right.
this specific giveaway, it's a medium or a small. So
I
if
don't
you
know why
win it,
Brian put in for this. None of us are mediums or smalls.
it's a medium. I am thrilled, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised. David killed it with the graphic. Dave Orkin killed it with the quality. Like the print is fit. It's like super crisp. It's beautiful. The shirts are nice. Like they're really great shirts. I think it's like there's a certain appeal to having a shirt. Do you want to pull it back up again? The picture of the shirt.
Yeah,
Like there's a certain
absolutely.
appeal to it not being super obvious that it says Dorklair. Like some people, they don't even realize, especially when you're wearing the shirt, like, and it's, it's not in your face.
Right.
There, a lot of people didn't realize it at first. And there's something about it where it's like, oh, it's a dungeon. It's not just a logo for
Right.
a brand. You know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
probably sold 5 shirts over the course of like the 5 years or whatever that I had my shirts on TeePublic with just the Dorklair logo. But these have been selling really well. Like, and I shouldn't be surprised because the art is phenomenal. But I'm super grateful because, I mean, we're gonna go to Legion's Con and there's gonna be a bunch of people wearing the shirt that David designed, and the problem with that is sizes sold out. So we had 2X, XL, large, medium, small. Only ones left right now are medium and small. And I have put in an order. So, by the way, the smaller sizes typically, so if ladies are watching, like smaller sizes, right? Like
Right.
if you're looking for shirts, I got shirts. Okay. I got like 3 smalls and I think 5 or 6 mediums left. So if anybody wants a shirt, now's the time to get one. I am replenishing, but because of the rate at which those other sizes sold, like I'm replenishing more so the bigger sizes because like that seems to be the ones that are selling more. I'm trying to get the replenish back to where it's roughly the same, but like there's a little more demand, and I'm going up to 3X and 4X on the replenishment. So, and people have been reserving the replenishment as well. I think I've already like pre-reserved 15 shirts from the replenishment. We do
wow.
50 at a time. So I've almost sold through the initial 50 at this point. I did give a bunch away. I gave a bunch to the Horsemen. I got to see them at Shop the Curiosity last weekend, and I brought shirts for all them. And then obviously like Chris and Larry, David, some other friends. But I'm thrilled at like how well these have been selling. And I shouldn't be surprised. Like it is a fantastic looking
It's a cool
shirt.
shirt. Are you gonna have any
It's
at
really
Legion's
cool.
Con?
That's the plan. So, whatever I have left over, I'm going to bring. My goal is to sell through this next 50 that I just ordered last night, which should probably be here within a month, and then order another 50. And I feel like by then the demand will have dried up enough where it's like I'll have this 50 or so, and I'll bring those to Legion's Con. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are amazing. I missed the live where you were when you showed
Revealing
them the first night that you showed them, and I was at an event, and so when I saw it, immediately after I saw it, I messaged you. I gotta have one. So thank you for allowing me to get one and sending it on its way. But yeah, I think I checked and it's supposed to be here on Saturday, so I couldn't wear it tonight, but I will be supporting
That's like
Dorklair
kind
as
of a
soon
long
as.
time. I felt like it
Yeah,
would have been there quicker from up here, but
yeah, I would have thought so too, but yeah, the tracking has it showing up on Saturday, so and that's fine. I'm super excited to wear it. So, hashtag Dorklair. I know it's a small, but you guys have kids, you guys have wives. Come on,
Yeah, that's
you
what
can give it to
Brian said.
somebody
He's gonna
else.
get it for our, if he wins, our son can wear it.
Yeah.
yep.
So
If
small,
you
mediums.
win, message me. If you don't know, if we're not connected on social, you can email me at podcast@dorklair.com. Let me know small or medium. Try to message me right away because I'm actually making a post office trip tomorrow. So message me small or medium. What's your address? And I'll get you tracking probably tonight right after the show.
Awesome. Okay. So a few more questions. Let's go back to my list while we're collecting those. Let's go into Figura Obscura because one of my favorite things, absolute favorite things, when there is a Figura Obscura drop, Kevin and I go online and we get one of whatever it is. And I've never even looked at it before we've purchased it.
Are you an all-inner or are you just get the figure first?
We just get the figure. Like, I don't collect pens at all, and neither one of us drink coffee. And I'm allergic to chocolate, so no hot chocolate. And every once in a while I do hot tea, but I do hot tea at work. I don't do it at home. So, like, the cup, although they're awesome,
you have no use for it. Yeah.
I have no use for the cup. So for me, I just want the figure. So he and I go in and like without even looking, we purchase the figure because we know we're getting at least one of them.
Right.
And then we jump out and then we wait for your review to come up. And he and I are on pins and needles until you review. And this last time was like 10 minutes. I was like, woohoo! And then we watch your review and then I decide I need 3 more. So then I go to the Figure Obscura cabal and say, hey, I want 3 of these. Does anybody want these 3?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love is that since the beginning, like you did the review of the first one. Is that correct?
No. So
okay. When did you start doing
Krampus? The very first Krampus was a surprise to me.
Gotcha.
I remember I was at my mother-in-law's house and she does not have internet, and it was like, how am I gonna get this? But yeah, so that first Krampus, no, and then I guess the next one was, so it was funny because that following summer or spring or summer, they did the All Stars 5+, where a bunch of different people got to reveal something on the lounge. So Dorklair didn't get one. But on the lounge, we got one. We revealed the heads pack. And then that was because it turned out that Jeremy was planning to do a Dorklair. Like, I didn't know it. And like, they don't tell me anything until like a couple weeks before. And they're like, okay, we got a thing coming, just to prepare me and like to hopefully get it to me early enough where I can really put love into it. And so that was the Headless Horseman. That was the first one that I had, and it was like, man, that was an experience. It was so cool.
So when you receive so they let you know, hey, we're sending you a box so that you are on the lookout for it. And then when you receive that box and you're holding that box, like how quickly do you go from having the box in hand to setting everything up and getting it ready for you to actually open?
It depends on my schedule. they do send me tracking, which I feel like the last couple times, and I didn't realize it until this time. Diego's been just putting initials in it, and he put EG this time, and I actually kind of guessed it, Egyptian gods. Um, so, but like I'll get tracking, so I'll have a good idea of like, okay, this is gonna get here at a certain time, and I don't have to do anything. Like I don't have to do any research. I don't have to do any like prep. I don't have to get figures set up for like I can just do that in isolation and just do it alone and just finish it and then spend time on the other stuff. So yeah, like I can be pretty well set up. The only thing is like if I'm currently working on something else and I need to like get something up or something shows up that's like really time sensitive, like this last time, the Cosmic 3 came in and it
Oh
was
yeah.
like, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the fastest I've ever gotten some legions. It's like, it was like 18 hours it was here. So I was like, I got to get one up. I got to get a review up. Like I got to get one up. People are going to want to see it. So that kind of like took a little bit of like a little speed bump in between. But yeah, like if I can, I try to like be ready because it's going to eat at me if I have to like leave it, go to work the next day and then come back and do it, you know, like, so like I try to like have it all, you know, maybe have the camera set up, just have things just kind of like set up and ready to go, to film the opening.
So how does it
Um,
feel knowing that you and the Four Horsemen and Trevor and probably Nate Barch are the only like you're the first ones to know what it is? Like how does that make you feel?
It's funny because I the only one I talk to is Jeremy. So it's all in isolation of each other. Well, those guys talk to each other, but like I like even though Trevor and I know, like I know Trevor took the photos. When I get it, like I know he knows what it is. I know he took the photos, and he at this point, like for the first couple, he was like surprised that I didn't mention anything. He was like, "Bill, you had this whole time," you know. But now it's like we still don't say anything. We like it's just a mental. It's like you want to be in the zone, and you want to just not talk to anybody about it at all, and just keep that discipline because it's all about that weekend surprise, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
all like, and so just keeping that like doing that just helps with the discipline of it. And I haven't had any struggles with it. Like it's been very almost easy, but it is in isolation. The one thing I do is immediately after I open it, I call Jeremy and we just he talks me through it. He tells me all about, you know, he just like opens up and just tells me all about what, like why they did it and like what, like this piece, you know, what pieces are, you know, like things to look out for in terms of like what pieces. He's like telling me like, oh, these are all new parts, like all that stuff.
Nice.
that's awesome. So you get the box a couple of weeks before we get the notification and the reveal.
Ideally, up until this one, it's been about 2 weeks ahead each time, which is
Gotcha.
the best. It's the best because there's a very like fun and YouTube algorithmic kind of thing to like be in the first to have something up. But typically that means it gets here and you're like frantically trying to get a video up real quick. But
Right.
with this, I know it's not going to be on YouTube until mine goes up that date, so I can spend that whole stretch of time spreading out my workload so that I don't feel frantic ever, and I can do one segment at a time essentially. So I'll do like the box turnaround one night, and then I'll open it and I'll take a picture of the figure for the thumbnail the next night, and then I'll get the figure posed up on the turntable, and I'll record the intro, you know, like the welcome to the Dorklair intro, and then like, you know, like each day it's like another thing, and I can spend a lot of time on it, and I can, if I need to, do a bunch of different takes and kind of reshoot things if I want to, if something doesn't sound right, and so it's like a really great experience just all over to have all that time. This time there was only a week,
Oh wow.
and it was a busy week for me, like all over the place. Other companies were sending me stuff, other lines, like, so actually Toys had sent me something, like they had said weeks before, I'll send you this thing, and like it all just hit at the same time. The t-shirts hit the same week. Everything hit the same week, and I only had a week to do this one, and it was double. It was 2 figures, so it felt really frantic for in relation to what's typical for Figura. Like I did have a full week, and I did have an hour here, an hour there, a couple hours there. Like I did spend the time, but it just was a little more chaotic this time, and I'm glad. I was a little worried about the video because wasn't sure if people would be able to kind of tell, but sounds like people liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've kind of told us your favorite. These are taking the place of the Monkey King as your favorites at this point.
Yeah, I mean, ask me again in a year, because like
Okay.
it's the Monkey
It's gonna
King.
change.
Man, that was so special. Like
It
that was
was.
the one that just changed it. That was the one that was like, Four Horsemen are all in on this, right?
Right.
The Headless Horseman, it was mostly reuse. Krampus was mostly reuse. Like Father Christmas, it was a lot of cloth. Like it wasn't a lot of new tooling or anything. And Monkey King was like, holy cow, mind-blowingly like amazing that they were just like went all in. So it's gonna be tough to top, but like the initial like just excitement of this one, I feel like this was the biggest one. And it's 2 figures, right? Like it's Egyptian myth. It's so cool. It's just it's hard to say, but they are fantastic.
Right.
Have you been able to use the figure obscuras like in your classroom?
No.
The previous ones.
No, the closest I got, I almost brought in. I do teach Mask of the Red Death. That is I try to teach it around Halloween too. Like that is like, man, that story is amazing. But like I haven't like brought the figures in. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
I should.
Yeah, you should. Okay. Hashtag
If they do an
Dorklair.
Achilles or a Macbeth, because like the Iliad and Macbeth are 2 like major texts that we do. Like that would be probably one that I would totally bring into school. Like either of those
2. Hint, Jeremy.
Yeah, get it done.
Right.
All right. Let's go ahead and draw for the t-shirt, and then we're going to go into random questions. Right. So let me share the screen. Okay, hashtag Dorklair for a chance at one of Dorklair's brand new t-shirts, a small or medium. Message Bill after the show, and he has to go to the post office tomorrow, so he will get it in to you as quickly as possible. We've got 21 entries. Anybody else? Hashtag Dorklair. Hashtag Dorklair. All right.
21 people who wear a medium or a small. That's a pretty good number.
Or know somebody. 22. Or know somebody who wears a medium or a small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Could use a medium or small.
Yes. Hashtag Dorklair. Anybody else? All right, 23. Come on. We're going to draw in just a second. Okay. Ready, set. Let's draw. Yay! Michael Xavier!
Nice.
Woohoo!
I just listened to the latest Enablers today. Great episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Michael, get in touch with Bill, and he will get your shirt out to you. And thank you so much for for participating. That's awesome. Congratulations,
Nice.
Michael.
Yeah, congrats.
All right. We're going to do random questions. So we've got about 10 minutes. You guys know that I get up really early in the morning, so I try not to go over our 2-hour time limit, which is probably good for you, Bill, too, especially in the school year. You have to get up pretty early as well to
Hey,
get to school.
we're getting close. We're getting close
That's
to the
right.
end.
Woo!
I'm very excited.
Okay. So Stacy, we're going to go back and forth about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we're going to cut that off and ask him the 2 final questions because those are the big ones. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's start here. Where did you grow up, and are you an only child?
I have an older sister. I grew up in Western Massachusetts. I was born in Springfield, Mass, which is the home of where basketball was invented, and Holyoke is right next door where volleyball was invented.
Yeah.
Oh, I love volleyball. That's awesome.
All right. Okay. What was your first pet?
We had a hamster when I was little. Didn't live very long, but like we had a poodle. So it's funny when I mentioned earlier actually, I moved in '87 when I was in 5th grade. I moved to a new town, and we had moved into my step grandparents, my stepfather's parents. They had moved. They were getting close. They were like kind of close to retirement age, and they weren't ready to retire yet, but their company they worked for moved from Massachusetts to Baltimore, and so they had to like temporarily for the last couple of years of their careers move to Baltimore, and so they didn't want to give up their house, so we actually rented it from them. And we also included in the house was a dog, a poodle named Taffy. so really my first pet was a poodle named Taffy.
Nice.
That's awesome. So what is the absolute best memory that you can remember as a kid?
Oh, geez. Best memory as a kid. Let me just stick with toy memories. Okay. I just have this distinct memory of, I think it was my birthday. My birthday is the end of November, so it was always like sort of Christmas season when I would be like playing with the birthday toys, you know? And I got the Ewok Village. And I remember it was sort of Christmas time, and I had the Ewok Village set up, and I had the old book and record, Star Wars book and record. So you would play the record and read the book. But I just had that playing. I wasn't reading the book. I was just playing with my toys and listening to the Return of the Jedi Star Wars book and record, and I just like I have this very distinct memory of that as like this just like super in the zone playtime moment. So for toy memories, that's probably one. I mean, other memories, it's it's vacations with family and mom, and like that kind of stuff.
Right. So Hedgehog evidently had a Sheltie named Taffy when he was growing up as well.
My daughter got a Barbie a couple years ago, and the dog's name was Taffy. So it's not. It's I think it's a pretty common pet name, I guess.
Yeah,
that's funny.
All right, what's your favorite food / and your favorite fast food?
I have to say, I'm gonna say French fries is my favorite food. Like it's just my go-to. I eat it with everything. I love French fries. If it had to be like a meal, geez, I'd probably like pizza as like the core of the meal. Like I love pizza. I love junk food, and I don't eat much junk food because I try to stay pretty healthy. But just I love pizza, and I love French fries. I just love it.
Sounds perfect meal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any food that you consider completely disgusting?
My wife is Greek. And I don't know if it's completely disgusting, but I just can't eat them. Olives. I can't eat. I don't like olives. Some olives I can have, like if you chop them up and put them on a pizza or a salad or something, and they're fairly mild. but
Right.
I don't like olives, and I eat them. I constantly eat them to try to become somebody who likes olives. Because like I hated pickles growing up, but now I love pickles.
Mm-hmm.
But like olives, I still can't get to the point where I like olives. I just don't like them.
Cats or dogs?
I've owned a cat in like, adulthood. I've owned a cat that lived to be almost 20 years old, and now I have a dog. So I can't pick.
Okay.
Even split, equal.
Okay.
What's your favorite holiday?
I'm gonna say Christmas. It was Thanksgiving growing up mostly. Part of that is it's my birthday. Somebody else's birthday is Jeff Evans said his is the
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah.
Mine's the 28th. But like, like when you have like Thanksgiving and the birthday, and like it was always like associated with like, getting gifts and stuff.
Right.
There's that, and like just like there's less pressure at Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
But I've, as an adult, in the last few years, maybe the last 7, 8 years, we've started hosting Christmas, and like now that's really become my favorite holiday. Just like that whole thing where the family comes over. Sometimes my brother and sister-in-law spend the night, and their kids stay over like the night after, not Christmas morning, but like the night after, so we wake up Christmas morning, and then we start cooking meal, and just, I don't know, it's just like this whole day. And it's, yeah, I love Christmas, and I love the whole holiday season, like the whole month of it. I know some people get super sick of it, but I'm on that Christmas music channel like all of December. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Tanya, I'm going to jump ahead.
Yeah, do. And then we're going to go to the next.
Because I feel like the best question that you ever ask, Tanya, is toilet paper over or under. That's a very important question.
It's over.
Yes.
How is that even, like, can I ask you how many people have said under?
Okay, let me tell you. So I work in a courthouse, and there's ladies that come and clean, and they put the toilet paper on the rolls, and they are always putting it on wrong. And I'm like, I always go back in there and I change it because I'm like, this.
Do you think they're purposefully putting it on under, or they're just randomly putting it on and not realizing they're doing?
I'm not sure. I just barbarians. That's what barbarians. I don't understand. Like because my kids will do it to me to upset me, and I'm like, stop it.
I've gone into people's houses and changed it.
Yeah,
just flipping it over, just like random houses.
Yeah. Favorite pizza topping, real quick.
Pepperoni.
Okay. That's a good one. All right. We're going to go to the end because, again, try to keep time. How big do you think the dragon is going to be?
This big. So I think it's going to be this big.
This big. Okay.
Which is what? 3 feet?
3 feet?
Long?
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like I'm going to be grabbing the torso like this. Like,
gotcha.
Maybe like that. I don't know.
All right. And then the last question, most important question that we'll ask you tonight. What is the one thing that you can tell us that you haven't told anybody else?
Okay. It's a little embarrassing, but I'm going to show you something that I haven't done yet.
Okay.
I still have not hung this up. It's been in this frame, and I need to nail the little things to it. I need to put the thing together. It's been in this. How many years is this now? Like this is like 2 years, right? Like it's been
2 years. No, you still have until November for 2 years.
The space on the wall is right there.
I love it.
Yeah, I haven't hung that thing up yet. I need to do it.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Bill, I cannot tell you how much fun this was and how much I truly appreciate you coming on and hanging with us. And Stacy, same. Thank you so much for joining me and
Anytime.
getting the good stuff out of Bill. That's always a plus. Bill, you have been online on Thursday night for 5 or 6 weeks straight.
yeah. Because we did that in between one there a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
That's right.
By the way,
And
can I
then-
just say, like, how, I don't know, not thankful, but like the fact that you came up to me and you were like, just letting me know that you were going to be doing a Thursday show, like, it was like so nice of you to say that. Like, I really appreciate that. I think about that a lot. Like, so I feel like we're like sibling shows now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well, it was tough because there are very, like, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays I have things going on. So, trying to come up with either a Tuesday or a Thursday show, we were trying to work that out. And I thank you for being gracious in saying, hey, yes, now you're going to keep me on a schedule.
It's helped. It really has helped. It has helped to like lock something in for us because we were here and there, like once, it was just it was like not very regular, so
Right.
it really did help to kind of like lock us into a pattern.
Well, I am thankful for you. Just that first year at Legion's Con was when I truly fell in love with the community. I truly fell in love with the pieces of art. And I've always called these little bitty pieces of art. And
the elevator, right? That you fell in love with the elevator at that one too.
So we didn't stay at that hotel, so I never went up in
That's
the
right.
elevator.
Oh,
We stayed at a different. We stayed at a Marriott around the corner. But I am very thankful that I was able to run into you and talk to you, and it was really a highlight for me because Kevin and I had watched your reviews and watched your show, and it was a real highlight for me. And so, you being just hanging out, talking, and just telling it like it is one of the reasons probably why that I love this community so much. So thank you.
Good to hear. Yeah.
And with that being said, we are going to say goodnight. I truly appreciate everybody in the chat jumping on, and we want to wish Amber a very, very get well soon, and hope that we see her back in a couple of weeks when we go live. And Bill, thank you again. Truly appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.